Hi guys, welcome to the demo of FlowGent. So starting off in the app, this is the dashboard where you can see how many active agents you have, how many credits you have, what agents are active. Then if we move over here to the agent section, here's where you can see a table of all of your agents, easily see who's active, quickly deactivate them or chat with them. So for example, this agent is actually an agent that we have live in Slack, but you could also just chat with it in the app. So I say hi, and it will respond back to me. So in this case, this tool has scrape web content as a tool. It has create development to-dos in Airtable as a tool, and it can search through the knowledge base, which we've added to this agent. So it has access to our company knowledge, and we can add to it and any sort of task it does. We can instruct it to either check the knowledge base, or in our system settings, we can tell it like, hey, whenever you're going to use a tool or before you answer us, always first check your knowledge base for relevant information. And this way our agent can operate with all of the relevant knowledge it needs from the company. So just to demo a tool, I'm going to create a development to do in Airtable. So I'm going to say add a to-do. I'm going to say, so add a to-do in the Airtable to Jan and say that it's add the video demo to the website. So the demo I'm recording right now, I want that on the website. So it's going to add it to my Airtable. Says, okay, I'll help you do that. And as you can see it's using a tool. So this is the tool we created, create development to do. And then it has the information of each of the fields it fills in, and then it fills it in and it's done, and the task is now successfully in Airtable. So this is just some example usage of an Airtable tool. So let me show you how you can set something up like this as well for yourself. So this is when chatting in the app, but you can also, of course, run it in your Slack. And we've got more places where you can host the agent coming very soon, like a Chrome extension, a chatbot, Microsoft Teams, all that good stuff. So the agents are writing a workflow, but also, of course, you can use it inside of the app as well when you want to chat to it and work with that agent. So going back to the overview. So this is the overview of the agent. As you can see, it's using Claude 3.5 Sonnet, but we also support OpenAI. You can see the tools we have. You can see that we added the knowledge as well. And then let me show you how we actually built the tool to add to the developer portal, so to add to our Airtable, which is what we use to track development. So when you go to tools, you can say create a tool. You can hit OK. And as you can see, it will create a new tool. And you can add a new step inside of the tool. So a tool is basically a workflow or an action an agent can perform. So it does a tool call and it gives inputs, and then it will run the code in the background, and you can build that code piece, or in this case obviously you don't have to use code, with our tool builder. So you can add different steps. So these are the tools we are integrating with currently, and we got a lot more to come. And most importantly, we are taking feedback from users. So if you're using the app, you're like, hey, I use this and this CRM, or I use that tool, I want it integrated. We can do it within 48 hours. And this is also because we developed some AI agents that work for us as well to help us with these integrations. So we can quickly help you and implement it. So in this case, maybe let's do a LinkedIn scraper. I'll do that as an example. As you can see, we can get LinkedIn profile or company info. So let's do get LinkedIn profile information. Then we can connect it. So also it could be multiple steps. So if we want to get the profile information and then add it to our Airtable, we can just add an extra step and connect everything together. But for this demo, I'll just keep it relatively simple. So when you open up the node, you'll see the editor on the right side. So for this node, we only have a single input, which is LinkedIn profile URL. But for others, you have multiple inputs, or you can select connections. So we have different OAuth connections, as well as with your API key, depending on the integration, safely stored, and then you can use your apps, inside of the app. So in this case, the LinkedIn profile URL, well, obviously we want the agent to determine it. So if you click on it, you can map variables from the previous step. Obviously, there's no previous step in this example. And in this case, we also want the agent to determine what the LinkedIn profile URL will be. So in that case, you just click Add Agent Input, and you get this curly brackets with Agent Input 1, and you just hit Save. And then let's say you have multiple steps, you can again use multiple different nodes where agent input is required. So once you've hit save, you can then click on the little agent icon here, and all of the agent input fields, so basically the variables that the agent will determine, so the LLM will determine and fill out, will be here to fill out for yourself. So in this case, I'm just going to give it a description, the full LinkedIn URL. So the full LinkedIn URL of the profile we want to scrape, hit save. Then here, the tool name. So we're going to give it a name. It's going to be simple. It's going to be scrape LinkedIn profile. And I'm actually just going to copy paste it as a description as well. So when the tool is quite simple, it makes sense, to copy paste. But if you have multiple tools connected to the same agent that are similar to each other, it really makes sense to fill out a detailed description so the agent knows when to choose which one. You can hit save. And then for the output schema as well, you can select the data that will come from that node. So as you can see, you can filter it out. So why this is important is because with the agent, obviously we're giving the feedback or the response back to an LLM. And what will happen if we give too much data is it can get confused. So some APIs or some nodes you'll use, they'll give you a ton of data, which is great. But if you only want, for example, to extract the, in this case, avatar, so the profile picture of someone, it doesn't make sense to give it all of the information because it might get confused, especially if you're using this in bulk. And again, you just want to filter down to the relevant data. If you don't want to filter down, you can just hit data and you'll just get everything. And in this case, I'll do that. We're going to hit save. Then we could also test the flow. And we have to provide a test value as input. And as you can see, you'll get the test result back. So it's my profile, and you can see people also viewed and a whole bunch of other information. And this really drives my point home from earlier, where if you only want, for example, to extract the recent posts or interactions, as you can see, you could filter it down and not overwhelm the agent or not include basically unneeded information. But in this case, I'll just include everything for the demo. But as you can see, you can get quite a lot of information quite quickly. So that's why we have the filter node there as well. Okay, just gonna hit save. Save again. And then here, again, when we now start a new chat or we continue a previous chat, it will have access to LinkedIn. So I can ask it again, what tools? And then it will also say that it has the scrape LinkedIn profile tool. So I'll say ask it, what's the latest post? So it says, okay, let me try by getting the information by scraping his profile. So it's filling out the tool, and you can see this input is the description we gave for the field. So it fully understands, what to fill in. And then you can see this was my latest post. And then we could ask follow-up questions about this, like how many likes did it get, or any other information that's really on the profile. So this is an example of how you can give your AI agent access to LinkedIn. But then again, it can integrate with almost anything. So any sort of tool you're using, where there's information in there that you want to retrieve, think about your CRM, think about adding things to the CRM. It can all do that inside of the app. Now, I touched on it earlier a little bit, where you can host the agent as well on a different location. So if we go back to the editor, we can look at Trigger. That actually this agent where I added the tool to, it's actually our Slack agent. So I showed before how we can add a development to do. And now we can also scrape LinkedIn, but we're using this actually inside of our Slack. So typically I won't really log into FlowGent to interact with this agent, but rather I use it inside of Slack. So I'll now showcase that as well. Right, so now I'm inside of Slack, and when you install the FlowGent AI assistant, you can actually chat with it inside of Slack as well. So there's two ways to interact with the agent. You can either add it to your Slack channel and be like, hi, you tag it. They're actually not on this channel, so I'm going to invite them. So they have to be in the channel. and then it's going to respond to you on Slack. So the first time it can be a little bit slower, but once you have the conversation up, it's a lot faster. So as you can see, it says, "Hi, I'm neural net." So this is actually the name we gave it, but you can call it any way you want it. I have access to several tools, and then what can I help you with today? So one of the ways we're actually using this is in an existing thread. I'll be going back and forth with our developer, and then once we find a feature we want to add to the product, or we kind of find a consensus between what's going on, it might be a bug report or something else, we simply just tag the agent and we ask it to add a to-do to the Airtable, the same one I showcased earlier, but straight from Slack. So it's doing it straight from Slack, and it has the full message history from that thread, so between me and my colleague, to as context basically. So I'll say like, hey, based on the conclusion we draw here, make a to-do for, I might add, tag my colleague, and it will add a to-do to the Airtable. So I'll ask it again to make a... So again, just for an example, I'll ask it to make an example to do. So I'll say, so I'm going to ask it to add a to-do to post this video on LinkedIn. So obviously it's development to do right now. We don't have a separate workspace yet for marketing, but again, I could have set that up very easily and it will add it in there. So it says, I'll help you create a development to do. And then I've created to do. Would you like me to modify the details, assign it to a person, or adding more specific notes? And then, you can continue the conversation. So now it's added right from Slack. It responds really quickly, and it's right where you're already having the conversation. It has access to the previous thread, and you know what's going on. So that's one way to interact with it on Slack. And the second way you can interact with your FlowGent AI agent is actually by clicking on the top right, and you can chat with FlowGent AI Assistant from there. So this is more useful when you want to keep your conversation with the agent private, or you don't want to clutter up too much of the channel, so you can just ask it on the side. Or also an idea of what could be really useful is if your colleagues are discussing a certain subject and you're not 100% sure yet, maybe you're new on the team, and you can just chat with the company knowledge right from Slack and make sure you're up to speed before adding in what you think about the issue, or basically give your input. So again, you can use any tool here as well. Any tool that you set up inside of FlowGent, you can use inside of Slack as well. So it can add to-dos, it can go to your ATS system, your CRM, any sort of integration you can think of, really you can make it. Yeah, we're super excited to see what you built. So just expanding a little bit more on the demo, obviously these are agents that you're interacting with. So right now it's in your Slack. Next up we'll have the Microsoft Teams integration, we'll have a Chrome extension as well, and we'll have a chatbot. So these are all front-facing, but obviously also a very exciting thing you can do with AI agents is have them run in the background. So just to give you an example, we have this integration manager here, which is our AI agent that basically tracks any sort of new integrations we make, and it adds it to our directory on the website right away. So we don't have to write the copy, we don't have to copy over the image locations. It basically just checks our database that we already have, where we're adding in everything to make the integration work. And it just checks every morning, hey, is there anything new? If so, I'm going to add it to the website, and then this way our website is always up to date. And then it also updates us in the Slack, on our company Slack, in the integration channel where we're chatting about integrations anyway, and it tells us, it's done the job. So this is another example of an agent, but this is an agent that more so runs in the background. So again, the entire setup process is basically the same. As you can see, we have multiple tools here. So this is our database system. But again, if you're tracking something in Airtable, you can use that, or in your Notion, you can use that. If you're using a SQL database, you can obviously use our integration as well. But again, it depends on what you need. And just to emphasize again, we're building integrations super fast. So if you sign up, you start building and you hit a roadblock, you can either use our HTTP module, where you can just do any sort of API call. So any tool that has an API, you will be able to integrate it here. If you're not that technical or you can't get it figured out, no problem at all. We can add the integration as well for you, and we do that within 48 hours. So it's all super quick, and you can get your agent integrated with the right tools. How do you get an agent to run in the background? So we have multiple options for that. We have a webhook. So a lot of tools offer webhooks, which is basically a integration style where it gives a sign if a certain event happens. So maybe when you receive a new email in your CRM or a new lead on Facebook, then you can trigger the webhook and the agent will do its job. You can run on a schedule. So in this case, we just do it every day at 10:06, which is kind of a random time. And then you can select your time zone as well. But we also have days of the week, days of the month, or just a regular interval, which means, for example, every 5 minutes, or it's quite advanced. So you can do work days, you can do months, hours, and you can set the interval exactly how you need it. And then another option is the API. So we also have an API where you can send an event, send a messages array, and then you can get a response back right away if it's successful, or you get the message back as well. So if you want to have this agent run in an existing app or an existing flow you want to get a response from it, maybe you want to integrate it inside of Zapier or inside of make.com, then you can do that as well with the API. And it's also super easy, and we got documentation here as well on how to do that. So I hope this demo got your creative juices flowing. You have ideas of what kind of agents you want to build. If not, don't worry. You can also check out our YouTube channel or my personal YouTube channel to see tutorials on what kind of agents to build. And we're excited to see what you build with FlowGent.